Hello Dragon Ball Super players. I'm excited to bring you my Set 9 Cooler deck profile with which I went undefeated in my 7-round local multi-box event tonight. If you're looking for a deck to compete with during this mid-range format, I've got just the one for you. So we are playing the Set 9 Red Cooler. He has 3 autos on his front side. He has the first auto is when this card attacks a leader card, draw 1 card. That is not too great of an auto because you have to interact with your opponent's leader, giving them more fodder to fight back at you with. He's one of the last new leaders that still have to attack your opponent's leaders. His second auto is when the power of one of your opponent's battle cards is decreased, your opponent places the top card of their deck in their drop area. This is not once per turn, giving your leader an alternative win con in which you mill your opponent to death. In Dragon Ball Super, the moment your opponent's deck reaches 0, the deck count, the game is over, and you have won. And then his third auto, once per turn, if it's your opponent's turn, when the power of one of your opponent's battle cards is decreased by the skills of one of your battle cards, draw 1 card. An alternative way to draw. And then he has a Fair Awakening, where when your life is at 4 or less, you draw 1 card, untap one of your energy, and flip this card over. On the backside, he retains his 3 autos, however, they're upgraded. His first auto gets upgraded to when this card attacks, draw 1 card. So this now allows you to check Unisons and battle cards to draw cards still. His second auto remains the same. When the power of one of your opponent's battle cards is decreased, your opponent places the top card of their deck into their drop area. There's a magic term for this I'm going to be using throughout the video called milling, where your opponent just takes the top card of the deck and places it in their drop area. And finally, his third auto, which is once per turn, has now been upgraded to when the power of one of your opponent's battle cards is decreased by the skill of one of your battle cards, draw a card. The upgrade is that now on the backside, you draw whether you reduce their power on your turn or your opponent's turn. So let's dive right into the actual deck. So we are playing a blue-red deck, so we are going to play some blue-red check lands. We specifically went with this check land because we want to be able to simply charge a red-blue on turn 1 and then charge red-blues for free later. You do only need 1 red-blue energy in this deck to survive, and the fact that this check land is a Frieza clan is actually really helpful. We'll go over why later. Looking towards our turn 2 play, we're going to go with this Frieza Death's Embrace. It is a 1-drop cantrip. Cantrip is an old magic term that allows you to replace a card when it's played. So when this card is played, it draws a card. Simple. It has a really cool activate battle that is not once per turn, nor is it once per battle, where you can pay a red, and every time you do so, you can choose one of your opponent's leader or battle cards and reduce their power by 10k for the battle. So of course, if you do this during your opponent's turn, it is a battle card effect. You will get to draw a card and they will mill a card. And then we'll walk towards our turn 3. We have our Unison Jiren Legend of Universe 11. Jiren seems to be so synergistic with this leader that I can't believe it wasn't just a cooler card. So Jiren has 3 abilities. His first auto, very important. When your opponent plays a battle card or Unison card, you may choose that card and reduce its power by 10k. If you choose a battle card, your leader will force him to mill 1 card. And then if you choose to use this auto, you negate this auto skill for the rest of the turn, meaning you can pick and choose what you want to use this auto on. They can't just bait it out. His +1 is pretty basic. It's an activate main. This card gains double strike for the turn. Simple. It's a 20k double strike unison for 3 energy. And then his -3 activate battle is extraordinarily powerful. It's an activate battle -3, so you can use it during either player's turn. Choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and reduce its power by 25k, essentially allowing you to snipe any battle card that they try to go in with. And of course, your leader will make them mill 1 more card. So now we've looked at our early game package. Ideally, you want to find a way to charge red-blue on turn 1, and then so you can charge Mecha Frieza turn 2 and 3. If so be it, if it has to be a Mecha Frieza that you charge turn 1, c'est la vie. And then turn 2, you want to play Frieza Death's Embrace, which will let you cantrip and have an extra energy to trigger his effect on your opponent's turn. And then turn 3, you want to slam this boy in the field and you feel really safe. Your leader does awaken at 4, so we do want to try to get to 4 as fast as we can. So it's not bad to just take damage early game. And if you feel like you're taking too much damage, you can use this to get out of it. Let's talk about the core concept of the deck. So, at the core of the deck is Cooler Tyrannical Assault. This is the main card of the deck. It does come in a lower rarity for those looking to play a more budget-friendly version of the deck. Let's talk about the card real quick. It's got double strike, so it's a 20k double strike. Solid. Its second ability is it's got a rival red-blue for 1 red. For those who don't know what a rival is, the conditions for a rival are you must have a red and a blue battle card in your combo area, or a red-blue battle card in your combo because that would meet the previous condition. And once you do, you can pay 1 red to play this battle card from your hand onto the field. For 1 red, that's crazy. Then its auto is when you play this card, your opponent immediately mills 1 card, right? And then you get to pick up to 2 of their battle cards, ignoring barrier, and reduce their power by 10k. So if you choose 2 battle cards, your leader will force them to mill 2 more times. And since it's a battle card effect that's reducing their power, your leader will draw 1 card if it hasn't done it yet. So effectively, when you play this card, if you're using it right, you're going to get 3 cards out of your opponent's deck. Amazing. And you might be thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, but Dark Broly is one of those decks that plays out of their drop area. They can't play it out of their drop area if they don't have a deck, though. So this is definitely the card we want to abuse, and you can use the Double Strike to check Unisons, you can use Double Strike to clear battle cards. This deck will more often than not win by milling, but it does have the capability to win by combat versus decks like VJax or Invoker. So we'll talk about how we can abuse this card more further in the deck profile. To pair along with a cooler, we have our ways to abuse him with our Hercule Majin Buu arrival and our combo attack cooler. So let's talk about this Hercule Majin Buu first. It is a rival red-blue just like our cooler, but this time you must pay a blue energy, which is why we are playing multicolored energy, well, which is half the reason why we're playing multicolored energy. And his auto is amazing. When you play this card, draw a card immediately. Then choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards, and it gets negative 10k power for the duration of the turn. Something to note, all 3 of these cards reduce power for the duration of the turn, making your opponent's sequencing really awkward. And then afterwards, at the end of your turn, you may choose one of your, it creates a floating effect where at the end of your turn, you may choose one of your red or blue battle cards and return it to your hand. Most of the time, you're going to return this Cooler Tyrannical Assault back to your hand so you can re-abuse it for another mill 3. Of course, since it does reduce your opponent's battle card power by 10k, your leader will force them to mill 1 more card. And if you hadn't done it yet, your leader will draw a card. Super great. And we'll talk about Combo Attack Cooler. Has this really neat activate battle where you pay 1 blue, hence the multicolor once again, and for the other half of the cost, you must return 1 Frieza Clan battle card from your battle area to your hand. This is a Frieza Clan. This is a Frieza Clan, and this is a Frieza Clan. Most of the time you want to return this back to your hand to, you guessed it, abuse it to mill 3 more cards from your opponent. It has a really neat auto once per turn that rarely goes off. When this card attacks or is attacked, you may combo with a red-blue multicolor battle card from your drop area. If you do get to get that off, it's free arrival fodder to meet the requirements for your arrival for these cards. I'll show you some combos with that once we get further into the deck list. So quick note. The 8 copies of these cards allow you to effectively play 12 copies of this cooler. Incredible. Let's talk about some of our more supportive cards. First, we have King Piccolo, the New Ruler. Because we play a 3-drop Unison, it fits the requirements to play this card from our hand without paying its energy cost. Once it comes down on the field, it has a permanent where it cannot be blocked, and it becomes a 20, gains 5k and is a double strike. So it is effectively a 20k double strike for 0 energy on the turn you play it, allowing you to check Unisons, or if you need to add more aggression towards the leader, you can deal 2 damage to their leader. Most of the time I'm using this to check Unisons down for 2 markers or to clear out battle cards. And to pair with our King Piccolo, we have our more defensive tool. We have Bardock, Strategic Mind. This card has Deflect. When it comes down, you get to pick your red Unison, your Jiren, and give it 3 more markers, giving it access to another Activate Battle trigger. So, we were talking about turns earlier, how charging a red-blue turn 1 is your best choice, so that's going to tap you out. Ideally, you charge this turn 1 and charge this turn 2. Then turn 2, you want to play Frieza, Charismatic Villain. Turn 3, you play Jiren. This is how you're using your energy. Turn 4, you're going to really want to play Bardock Strategic Mind. Mainly because you don't want to use your rivals on your turn. You want to try to get use of your opponent, like force your opponent to play into you. They'll play battle cards. Your rival will mill them down. So you really have nothing to do with the energy on your turn. This 3 energy card is the perfect card for that. It lets you just buff your Jiren, and if you manage to keep your Charismatic or your Death's Embrace on the field that long, you can pay the extra red energy to mill them or reduce one of the battle cards and draw an extra card on your leader's backside. Let's talk about some of the protection of this deck. You do play a Unison, a red Unison, so we play 4 copies of Yamcha Merciless Barrage. He feels like he was built for this deck almost. As long as you have a red Unison, you can pay this card without paying its mana cost. Its counterplay is you get to reduce the power of 2 battle cards by 15k and play this card. Since it is a battle card, it will draw on your leader, or allow your leader to draw. And because you're reducing 2 battle cards, your opponent will force them to mill 2 more cards. Amazing card. It has some extra synergy with Hercule Majin Buu forever. If you don't have a cooler Tyrannical Assault and you were forced to play this Majin Buu to get out of one of your opponent's attacks, you can always lift up the Yamcha at the end of the turn so you can reuse it again. You might be asking yourself, why do you play 4 Yamchas when you only play a Unison on turn 3? Well, you can play a Yamcha on your turn, then you can play a Yamcha on your opponent's turn, then you can play a Yamcha on your next turn, and then a Yamcha on your opponent's next turn, easily resolving 4 in a game. However, since we did talk about how you only need one multicolor energy to play out this deck, if you need single mono red charge, you can charge this Yamcha at any point you want, or extra Jirens, or extra Friezas, Death's Embrace. Super cool. And then our next free play defense is going to be Wolffang Fist. Because we play Red Unison, we can play this card for free while we have our Unison out. Its counterattack is if your leader card is red, you can choose one of your opponent's leader cards or battle cards that's attacking and reduce its power by 15k. It does not negate the attack, but the fact that it reduces your opponent's battle power by 15k allows your leader to mill them one more time. Super cool. And finally, to round out our protection, we're going to play a full playset of Violent Rays because of the format we're currently sitting in, and the fact that it's a red charge if you ever need to is really good. You can use it to discard cards you're not needing at the moment to force your opponent to stop attacking with 20k or higher battle cards and or Unison cards. It's your choice for what the situation stands. Most of the time, it's just battle cards to shut down decks like Red Broly and Dark Broly. If you can't afford Violent Rays, Topo is a very functional replacement for that card in this deck because you can also use this combo power with Combo Attack Cooler so that you can force arrivals on some of your other cards. However, if you do have the Violent Rays, I urge you to play these instead. As we move on, we'll clean up our area a little and move on into our super combos. The only super combo that really functions in this deck right now is Beerus Divine Obliterator. As long as your leader is red, you can play this card from your hand. It gets 0 for 10k super combo. Amazing. At all life counts. And then it untaps one of your multicolor blue-red energy. Great. It fits the conditions for arrival on these. And now you can tap out on your turn, and your opponent can feel your tap out, so they'll commit some battle cards because they have to try to beat you somehow. And now you can untap with Beerus as a combo card. And now that you have the energy up, you can attempt to rival your cooler. Really cool play. Perfect synergy with the deck. And on your turn, if the turn after, if you have this in your drop and you try to resolve a combo attack cooler on your following turn, you can pick up this cooler with this combo attack cooler that's already on the field. And then when you attack with this cooler, you can play the divine. You can use its auto to play the to combo with the Beerus from the drop area, which fulfills the conditions once again to rival with the same cooler that you picked up for this card, forcing even more milling from your opponent. Super fun. I would stray away from charging this card as your first turn charge unless you absolutely have to, because you need to see at least one for your game plan to work. If you had to have a perfect 6-card hand, it would be one of each of these cards in your hand. So, but the priority order goes priority 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I lied. Priority 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, because you want to charge this on turn 1 since it's the worst card you could see in your early game. And finally, since we're playing Divine Obliterator, we're going to play 4 Sensu Beans, which function as fake Divine Obliterators in this game. If you're tapped out, you can use Divine Obliterator to untap an energy, use Sensu Bean to untap a second energy, and then play 2 arrivals that turn. Really neat synergy. It's probably the only other reason why we're playing blue in this deck. And then we'll go over our final 2 slots in this 50-card deck. We have our Secret Rare, Supreme Kind of Time, Space-Time Unraveler. This deck doesn't necessarily need this SCR, but there aren't many better SCRs to play in this deck. If you don't own this SCR, you can either play the new Heroine SCR, or you could choose not to play an SCR and play extra copies of this Bardock or this King Piccolo. And since most of our deck are already double strikes, all of our attackers are already double strikes, such as our Cooler and our Jiren. We did not feel the need to play the double strike Kai or the Champa, and we don't really have enough combo power on our turn, effective combo power, to really dump into it. So instead, I decided to play an SS3 Goku One-Hit Wonder. SS3 Goku One-Hit Wonder plays himself for free whenever one of your opponent's battle cards is decreased. And obviously the whole deck is focused around doing so this becomes a free play 15k beater that can be used to check unisons or check your opponent's battle cards. This card isn't really necessary in this deck either. This card once again can be replaced by more Bardock's Instincts or Piccolo or King Piccolo New Rulers. I chose to play this card instead of extra copies of those because if I did see it, it gave me extra ways to interact with my opponent, and if I didn't see it, I didn't really care or miss it. Cool, so that is the entire 50 card deck. The deck works really well in today's format as long as you don't match in a VJX. Versus anything that's not VJX or Invoker, you can definitely mill them to death because they're all battle card focused. This game is battle card focused. Versus VJX, you're going to have to win by combat, but luckily you play a lot of double strikes and you can remove a lot of their battle cards so they're not really threats. And versus Invoker, you have zero chance of winning game one, but we'll go to the side to see how I beat my Invoker matchup in a reverse sweep. So we'll start with, is that all you've got? It's a 1 energy red negate that negates the initial attack, and then you may discard an additional red card to reduce 2 battle cards' powers by 15k. Once again, you're reducing power, so your leader will force him to mill for each battle card you reduce with this card. It's a 1 energy. We're really just playing this more in addition to that effect because this is a 1 energy red negates versus decks like Reboot Han and Evoker. You just need to find additional extra card negates. Also, this deck's weakest turns are turn 1 and 2, since we don't really do much then. So we're trying to fill up that turn 2 slot to cover our weaknesses. And a 1 energy negate helps us versus those super fast early game aggro decks. Another card to help cover that weakness is Mach Speed Kaioken Son Goku. It's a 3-drop counterplay that gets reduced to 2 as long as you control a red-blue, or as long as you control a multicolor energy. So it's always going to be 2 in this deck since our turn 1 is a multicolor energy. And then when this card is played, you choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, give it negative 10,000, letting your leader mill them by 1 card and drawing a card because it's a battle card. And then you may choose another, and then you choose a battle card again. It can even be the same battle card and give it another 5k reduction, letting your leader mill them 1 more time. Super great card. It's like a baby version of our cooler. It's really just for those decks that go super wide early game, like on turn 1s and 2s, that you can use this to punish them for it. And then more early game protection, we have Korin Tower Secret Medicine. This card really only comes into play if your opponent is playing a deck that'll awaken you on turn 2, such as like King Piccolo, and has a bunch of 15k speeders like King Piccolo and like VJax and like Baby Gogeta decks while they're still in the early game. This card it's an activate battle, gives your leader 5k for the rest of the turn, so it's kind of like a red bean, allowing you to play like 7 beans in your deck. And then additionally, you can choose one of your opponent's battle cards, up to one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier and reduce their power by 5k, letting your leader mill them 1 more time. And finally, our path to victory versus Invoker. I know this deck has such a bad matchup versus Invoker that I decided to commit 4 cards of my side deck to that deck, and boy did it pay off. So we have Gotenks Unison of Rage, and I'm really hoping people don't watch this video before PPT Miami because I'm not trying to lose to this card. But it has this auto. When your leader card's power is decreased by a skill, it gets 10k power for the turn. That seems kind of wonky, but we're going to see why it can do that. So its +1 is Activate Main. Choose up to 1 card in your life and add it to your hand. Perfect. We want to do that versus Invoker because they're not going to help us awaken, and we want to awaken as fast as we can. And then if you do, your leader gains minus 5k power, making your leader 5k. But remember that auto, once your leader is decreased by skill, which your +1 is, it's going to gain 10k, so it really just gives your leader 5k. It's like a really convoluted way to say your leader gains 5k power, and you get to take a life. Really cool. And then, of course, it itself is a 15k beater, and it's a 2-drop Unison, so you can play it on turn 2, where I said the deck is super weak anyway, so it's perfect. And then it has this really cool -2 skill, Activate Main. You can choose one of your leader cards, and it gains 5k power. That's super great, buffs your leader for the turn. And then look at your opponent's hand, and you can choose one multicolor battle card, or any battle card with 10k power or less from their hand, and send it to the drop area. Of course, versus Invoker, this lets you get rid of their Victory Strike, their Rival Seekers, their 6-drops, effectively removing their win cons. And if you hold off until turn 3 or 4 and just snap 2 of these back to back, it's just really difficult for that deck to win. So this is definitely my answer versus Invoker. I lost to my Invoker matchup game 1, and like it was just unwinnable. And then game 2 and 3, I was able to pull this. I just hard mulligan for this card, and I was just able to take the game once I got rid of his win cons. And of course, it helps me awaken it as well. So we're moving on to some more anti-aggro. We have Piccolo Jr., Descendant of the King, and against hand control. Um, the rest of the card is kind of irrelevant. We just play it because it's a 2-drop unison, so it fits perfectly in our weak turn 2 that lets us +1 draw a card. That's just the best part about it. This deck has an issue with drawing early game because it does nothing for those 2 turns. And this +1 draw card just fills that slot. It gives us an extra draw, gives us an extra attack if we need to. We're never going to use the -2, although there are some nifty tricks you can use with it with your Hercule and Majin Buu, and you can tuck the other one to give it rejuvenate, but we're never going to do that. This auto where they negate and you can blow up a card almost never happens. We're really just using it as a 2-drop red unison that +1 draws a card. So versus decks like, and I actually almost forgot to mention, because it's a unison on turn 2 versus those super early game decks, it turns on your Wolfang Fist on turn 2 and it turns on your Yamcha Merciless Barrage on turn 2, allowing you to play it on your opponent's turn, reducing their battle cards and drawing a card off your leader. Super effective. Most of the time when I'm siding this card, I'm not taking out my Jirens. Like for example, like the Jiren is so powerful in the deck that I'm most of the time I'm taking out 1 or 2 Jirens or just completely adding just more unisons to the deck. Something to think about when you're siding with this deck. And finally, for those super slow matchups, or people that just think they can beat you by dragging the game out and not drawing and not milling or playing their game plan, such as like Baby and Invoker, or cards that just play like 1 battle card on turn 2 and think they can beat you with it, we play 2 copies of Cooler Clan Avenger. This card's actually amazing. I wish I could fit this in the main deck. I might take out that Goku one-hit wonder to fit this card in the main deck because it's just so ridiculously good. It's a barrier 2-drop, 1 blue, 1 red, and it's a multicolor card, so you can charge if you really need to, but I don't think you should. When you play this card, your leader fits the requirements for this auto. You pick one of your opponent's battle cards and reduce its power by 15k. So since you're reducing their power, you mill one of their cards. You're usually going to try to slam it on turn 2 versus those super slow matchups, so you're not going to get to draw for that. And then the second auto is, at the end of each of your opponent's turns, they just mill an extra card, burning through their resources. Now you think, oh my god, 1 card every turn is not that fast, but that's 1 extra card every turn. It has barriers, so it's super sticky versus those decks. This card is actually really good. I gotta think about more of how I'm gonna try to fit it in the main deck because I sided it in versus any matchup that just felt like it was gonna drag on a little bit more. But it doesn't make a slot in the main right now because decks like Dark Broly just don't care about this, and this does nothing to those decks. Decks like Red Broly don't care about this, and it's too slow. Even decks like King Piccolo, this is too slow for. So definitely play around with this card, see what you can do. That was the entire 15 card side deck. Total of 66 cards in the deck if you include the leader. And I love playing this deck. The fact that VJX is seeing less and less play in the format now means that this deck can come back out of the woodwork and become the prime mill deck of the game. But yeah, if you have any questions or want to know more ideas on how to play the deck or anything else I can do with it, I hope you just message me on Facebook or leave me a comment on the YouTube videos below. And I really hope you all enjoy playing this deck. As always, shout out to my friends that make playing this game just so enjoyable. Shout out to Team Foe for making such a great environment to play along. And I can't wait to see those of you at PPT Miami Live in next week, or catch those of you watching and cheering all of us on. See you guys next time.